Today I'm experimenting with a recipe I saw online. Sam, the cooking guy, he used this for wings. I'm going to try it with some walleye that we caught on Lake Erie. Now the difference is in the binder. So typically I would use egg over here in this one and then panko in the air fryer. What we're going to do today is I mixed up his recipe here, which is basically flour, a bunch of spices, some cornstarch. We're going to add a little bit of water to this. Now he says sparkling water. I don't have any of that. So we're just going to use regular water, and you want the consistency of a thinnish pancake batter. And then we're going to dip that into the panko and put that in the air fryer. So let me get the water ready and we'll try to get this mixed up and get the right consistency. Now Sam didn't say how much water to put in. He just said till you get the consistency of thin pancake batter. So I'm just going to add some in and then we're going to mix it up and see what that gets us. Ah, make it a mess. Wife's going to love that. Oh, bonus. Wife's out of town for the weekend. So what she doesn't know isn't going to hurt her. Maybe using this whisk isn't the greatest idea. It's starting to bind up quite a bit. You can see there. We'll move this over a little bit. That's definitely too thick. So we'll just add a little bit more water. Let's see what that gets us. Hopefully you can see in the batter there. Let me bring it in. Spices are starting to come out a little bit. See, this is why you don't want to use a whisk necessarily, because the dry stuff gets stuck in the whisk. We got it. All right, so this is starting to look like batter, but I don't know. Got some chunky chunks in there we got to get rid of. Let me give this a little bit more of a mix, and then we'll let it set for a few minutes and we'll see how that gets us. When you're preparing fish like this, now I'm doing fish bites. These are walleye bites. What I do before I put them into the egg wash or the batter is I make sure that they're dried off. I don't want any moisture on these more than what I'm putting on with the batter or the eggs, because when you put them in the air fryer, the water that's on them can tend to overcook them really quickly. What you want to make sure is that when you put them in the air fryer, the fish doesn't cook faster than your panko, because then it won't get crunchy. So what will happen is your fish will be overcooked and your panko will be overcooked, and then it's not really good. So make sure that you use a paper towel on the bottom, tap it dry on the top, make sure everything's dried out before we start. The process that I have set up here is we're going to take the walleye, we're going to dip it in the batter, and we're going to dip it in the panko. And then I've set up a rack here just as an interim station before we put it in the air fryer. So that way I can get everything prepped before it gets into the air fryer for cooking. And that way you can see how everything looks before it starts to cook. I'm going to take the bigger chunks, some pretty beefy walleye pieces. Wet hand, dry hand. You just want to make sure you keep it straight, because otherwise it just becomes an unholy mess. So we're going to dip the walleye in like this, get it all covered. And then we're going to let it drip for a little bit, not too much. And then we're going to take it, put it in the panko. Right, this is where your dry hand comes in. You want to put it over top of that. Make sure you get everything covered. There you go. That's a walleye bite. Big one. You can do that again to the next one. Let that drain off just a little bit. Fix our panko. All right. Put that in the middle. Cover it up. So again, this is originally for wings in the air fryer, but I've adapted it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the rest of these all battered, pankoed up, get them on the rack, we'll come back and I'll show you how we put them in the air fryer and what the settings are for that. All right, so we're all battered up and we have the panko on all the walleye bites. Now, one thing I want to add here is if you run out of panko, there is a keto option to panko because this is bread. If you're on a keto diet or a restricted diet, you're not really allowed the bread. You can use this. You can take pork rinds, put them into a blender, blitz them, and then put them into a container like this. Use them just like panko and you won't be able to tell the difference, and it's a low carb keto option. All right, this is our air fryer and it's a Ninja Foodie and it has an air fryer built in. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the insert in for the air fryer. You don't have to use it, but I'm going to. And then we're going to take and put some oil in, just a few spritzes. And then we're going to take the walleye bites that we have on the rack and we're going to put them in the air fryer and fill it up as much as we can. We're probably going to get 6 or 7 before it gets filled up. This isn't a very big air fryer, but it's just the two of us, so it works pretty well. Let's see how many we can get in here. Not too bad. All right, so it looks like we got 7. Pretty darn good. You got to leave some space in between to make sure that the airflow gets around them. Otherwise, they're not going to cook very properly and they won't brown up. Then I'm going to take some oil and I'm just going to spritz it on the top. Not too much, but it helps brown the panko. And during the cooking time, we're going to turn it on and we're going to set this to about 400 degrees and we're going to give it about 10 minutes. Oops, there we go. Now, all I have to do on mine is once you have those two set, hit start, and there you go. While the fish is cooking in the air fryer, I'm going to make some tartar sauce. Now, I know that everybody's going to bitch at me in the comments about this, but you know what? I need to do a quick lunch. I don't have time to screw around making too much of it. But the bottom line is it's quick, it's tasty, it's simple, and that's about it. What I'm doing is I'm putting some mayo into a small dish. Always keep some relish on hand. Put some of that in. Like that. Yeah. Maybe a little more. For me, I wouldn't do this for the wife, but for me, I put in some sriracha. I like a little spice to my tartar sauce. You put a little bit of that in there. Give it a little heat. Mix it up. We're all done. Now, the interesting thing is I never really liked spicy stuff. Pretty much my whole life. Never really got in. I like mild, whatever. But as I get older, you can see this bottle's almost gone. I put sriracha in just about everything. The other thing that I put in stuff every once in a while, now this has a bit more heat to it. You can't be too generous with it. And I got this from Taku Outdoor Chef Life. This kelp chili crisp. Excellent. But a little dab will do you. You don't want to overload on this stuff. At least for me, it's a bit overwhelming, the heat. So I'll just put a little bit of this stuff in and it works just fine. And that's it. Tartar sauce, done. A little bit of heat. Pretty simple. All right, so we're about halfway done. And you can see not too much color there. Now, one other thing I like to do a little bit, I know this is going to work out, but just to show you what I was talking about earlier, get the thermometer, like these bigger chunks. See, we're only at 94. That one's getting up there. See, we're at 198, 95. So from a temperature perspective, these still got a ways to go. So that's why I'm doing 10 minutes. You'll have to gauge that because sometimes I have to go a few minutes longer. But right now, we're about halfway there. I'll check back in a few more minutes and we'll see where we're at. All right, we're all done. We're at time. You can see that browned up quite a bit. Let's check the temperature again. We're about 130. So we got, that one's good. That one's good. That one, actually, that big one's good. So we're going to take these out, plate them up. I'll put the next batch in. We still have a little bit left. Couldn't fit them all in ours. We'll get them all plated up and we'll take a look and taste them and see how they worked out. I don't know if you can hear this on the plate. Listen to this. See if you can hear it. Wanted to show you that these things are crispy goodness going on the plate. Definitely a good recipe. Not sure on the taste yet since this was originally for wings, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me finish up the plating, but wanted you to hear that crisp. So here we are at the table and try out these walleye bites. You know what? I'm just going to use my fingers at this point. Super, super crispy. Looks really good. Again, I don't want to hear it about the tartar sauce. It's the way I roll. There we go. Oh my goodness. Can you hear that crunch? Super tender. White meat. Walleye. See if I can hear it again on the crunch, right? Super, super crunchy. I'm going to taste it without the tartar sauce because I have that sriracha in there. Let's just see how this tastes by itself. You can definitely taste the oregano and some of the other spices that I put in there. Yeah, they're good. If you just like them by like this without any tartar sauce, they're good. So the recipe works for fish, at least walleye, as well as wings. Interesting substitute for eggs. But I'll tell you what, this might be my new favorite way to do this. Post down in the comments what you think, and we'll talk to you on the next one. See ya.